All right, we are live for our Boba Fett Season 1, Episode 2, Instant Reaction. I'm Justin. With me, as always, is my brother, Tyler. Tyler, it is on the East Coast right here where we live. It's 3:57 a.m. We just got done watching the Book of Boba Fett. There were LSD brain lizards. We saw some new Hutts, of course. All kinds of great, a Rancor psych out. Overall, what were your impressions of the episode?
I liked it. I thought this was a fun episode. I thought it was even a little better paced than the first one.
I thought pacing was better.
Yeah, I thought the pacing was good and everything. I liked that we got to see some Hutts. We got to see the cousins of Jabba, and I just love that the one big fat lady Hutt is just like a Southern lady,
just a Southern lady fanning herself,
just fanning herself. And I mean, man, did she look delectable? I would just eat her right up. I mean, what a tall drink of water she was. But yeah, what did you make of that scene? The whole showdown. I actually kind of liked that.
I liked it too. Because that makes perfect sense. You're like, okay, wouldn't the Hutts want that land? I mean, there's Hutt clans, right, that are always vying for power, and it seems like once the word is out that Jabba died, that they're going to be going looking for his territory. And so it makes perfect sense that we get relatives of Jabba showing up, right, to pose a new threat, and perhaps maybe the biggest threat, right, to Boba Fett. So yeah, I like that. I thought the scenes at the mayor were kind of better than I thought. I kind of like the interaction he had with the mayor. We get the Rancor psych out. Okay, so here's my only thing about the Rancor psych out. The Bad Batch introduced a new sort of like young Rancor name. I think it's Moa. What was it? Mochi. I think it's Mochi.
Mm.
And so everybody's like, "Oh, Mochi's going to be in this. That's going to be Bulba's Rancor." That's what everybody thinks. Right. And so I actually thought we were going to see a Rancor. And here's what I didn't like about that scene. I think maybe you'll agree with this. You've got an assassin who apparently will not talk. He's ready to lean over and just have his head cut off, and he's ready to die. And then they're like, well, "What about the Rancor?" And all of a sudden he's like, "What?" You drop him into the pit, and then the gate opens. And it's already very visibly clear to us, the viewer, that there's no Rancor in there, right?
Right.
And then he's like, "It was the mayor that sent me. The mayor did it, I tell ya." And I was like,
right.
What? You can already tell there's not a Rancor there. Maybe that's just bad editing, but
that was all very, very strange. And beyond that, to just be not afraid to die, to have your head cut off. But like if you're eaten by the Rancor, we watch this happen. They just kind of get swallowed right away. You're going to die right away anyway.
I would imagine
it's not like the Rancor has a bunch of torturing tools down there. Like he's going to start pulling out his his fingernails and stuff like that to where he'd be terrified. The Rancor's down there like waterboarding people, and he's like, "I want none of that. It was the mayor." Like, no, you're just gonna be like eaten real quick. So who cares? You were prepared to die. So why wouldn't you just keep your mouth shut? Yeah, I don't know. Didn't get that either. But it did mean that we get to see the mayor's executive assistant, who seems to be a really great character. Hopefully they keep bringing him back because he's great.
I love how all the Twi'leks, for the most part, like throughout Star Wars, either kind of have accents like Hera, from Star Wars Rebels, or they all talk weird. But then this guy is just kind of like a normal dude, and he's kind of just like talking like this, and he's like, "Whoa, the mayor's out today. You can't be going in there."
Yeah, well, sorry, please wipe your shoes before you come in here. My goodness, so we just had this carpet clean. Like, yeah, he's just a normal guy. But yeah, so then Justin, what else do we see? We get to see the kind of last samurai scene with Boba and the Sand People learning to wield his gaffy stick. Really did strike me. This is a Tom Cruise Last Samurai situation, right? Thinks they're savages, ends up proving himself to them and them to him, and then he gets taught their ways. And so interesting whole segment there.
So, I mean, really, that's most of the episode is the dream sequence when he's in the Bacta. I mean, I think after, my notes say that we see the Hutt twins, he goes back in the Bacta. And then I think that's it, right? Is the whole rest of the episode is the dream sequence, I think.
Right. And, we mentioned torture too. I just thought about, can you imagine being one of those people that have to carry around the Hutts Like, holy shit.
That,
Talk about like
you
getting the
know,
short end of the straw. Like those guys, and in the desert too. Like,
in
can
the
you even
desert,
imagine?
one of them has to weigh, I imagine, 500 or 600 pounds. And
I,
so,
I,
and I
I
was
would think
looking, I
more.
literally, at one point, I was like, so wait, how many guys are holding them right now? Because I was like, it
Right.
seems like it would take more than there even
Like
is.
a lot more than they would. Yeah. And
Right.
I mean, those guys did not look like they were straining enough given those behemoths. But yeah, so just with the sand people thing too, it seems like they're trying really hard to paint the sand people in a positive
And
light, right? That they're just
why?
people. They're just a tribe that's out there trying to do their best. And I think this harkens back to our theory that we've had, Justin. As you know, in the
Mhm, mhm,
prequels,
mhm, mhm.
right? The Sand People kill Anakin Skywalker's mother, right? At least this is
They
what we're
sure do.
led. This is what we're led to believe
Savage
based on
beasts.
savage beasts that kill him. But see, we had a thought that what was really happening is she was actually not picking moisture evaporate mushrooms off the moisture evaporators, but she
Right.
was eating those moisture evaporator mushrooms, getting high, stumbling into the Tuscan Raider villages,
Partying with the Tuscans. Yeah.
partying with them, and then they were trying to help her, right, trying to cure her of her addiction. And doesn't that make more sense in light of what we're seeing now than just a bunch of
I,
savages that
I
captured her,
completely,
raped
okay.
her, and cut her up? No, they were trying to help this drug addicted woman who's stumbling around the desert like tripping balls all the time. I think that makes a lot more sense given what we're seeing. That's all I'm saying.
I do think it makes sense. And I have to say, like, although I kind of like the what they're doing with the Tuscans, it's like they may be uncivilized, but they're trying to show that they have culture and all this stuff and that they're, thinking human beings. But I still think it's so weird, like just retroactively what it says about Anakin, like what it shows about him, how he just goes
Right.
in there and just murders all of them. And it's just mindless
Right.
creatures. And it's like, okay. I get the painting of the Tuscans and the way that they are, but boy, things just get worse and worse for really Star Wars main and most popular character.
Well, I mean, he did kill a bunch of kids. Let's not forget.
Well,
So some Tuscan
well,
Raiders. I guess that goes without saying. Um,
so the bar fight scene, I'm gonna try to do this like in
yeah,
order. So that was a little better than the street fight that we
yeah,
saw, I think, in episode
for
1. I thought
sure.
the bar
Yep.
fight was better.
Takes on a biker gang. Yep.
But then I really hope this doesn't become a thing, but I think it is. After he beats up I think they're Nictos. After he beats them all up, he like takes another drink and he goes again. And I'm like, is that going to be Boba Fett's catchphrase throughout the show?
Yeah, it might be. You know what that scene reminded me
Want a
of? That
shirt.
whole like shindig with the biker gang was like a Terminator 2 style thing when like Arnold goes into the bar and he's like, I need your clothes and your motorcycle. Like, he even he's like picking out his bike afterwards that he gets on, and all he needed was the leather jacket and riding off into the sunset. And then he teaches those dumb Tuscans how to ride a swoop bike, right?
He does. He somehow ties them all up with rope and they all just sort of float without
Yeah.
floating off into space. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but hey, yeah.
Don't worry about it. But I did think it was pretty funny that it's like, okay, he's like, don't worry, I can teach you how to ride. And you're like, oh, okay. So there's
Right.
some things you got to learn. And it's go and stop.
And
And it's like, wait, they could never figure
then
that out. Like it's just go and like, that's it. I figured he would show him like how to turn it on and stuff like that. There's probably some switches you got to flick or something. No, it's just go and stop. They could never figure that out. Like,
right.
what? And it
But
goes
now they
backwards
know,
the first time.
thanks to Boba Fett, and
Now
they
they
have laid
know.
claim to the Dune Sea. And so then we get the train scene, right? Where this train
Right.
kind of comes
old-fashioned
and
train
just
heist.
shoots them for whatever reason. And again, it's not totally clear at the beginning what the train is. Like, and I wondered, like, is it just moving something and protecting itself? Is it trying to take Tuscans out? I'm not sure. And
Right.
so we find out that they're essentially smugglers. They're running cargo, whatever you want to
Spice
call
runners.
it. Well, they're spice runners in part, but it sounds like they move all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And it seems obvious with the spice mines of Kessel. I forget who from Solo, the gang. I'm trying to think of who the gang was there that they didn't want to mess with, Crimson Dawn, because Dryden Voss had issues with them. But then now, they went in there, took the spice, and then Kira is kind of running Crimson Dawn now as
Right.
the right hand man to Maul. And so I was wondering if we were going to get a Kira appearance.
Oh,
you know,
right, little cameo.
I was wondering if when he said go back and tell your about this deal, and I'm like, okay, that's either going to be it's probably Crimson Dawn, and I imagine it's probably either Emilia Clarke or it'll be Maul.
And I know Emilia Clarke has talked about like having interest in wanting to keep reprising the role.
I've seen that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it would not shock me to see a cameo from her later down the line. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. And another thing I liked about the train heist segment, right? Also kind of harkens back to Solo. Talking about Kira.
Yeah.
But that conductor droid was badass. I got to tell you,
I thought he was awesome.
Wasn't he amazing?
Really liked him.
Like he was resourceful. He's like, oh shit, like he sees what's going on, and like he keeps juicing things up, getting it going faster. He's blowing people off there, and like he's working. This isn't just like the bikes where it's just go. He's flicking all kinds of switches. He's pulling levers and pulleys and stuff. He was getting it done. And then even when Boba goes in there, he just puts his hands up and then jumps out the window and goes on his way. Like, wow, what a sweet droid! Like if we ever start a train business, we are going to get those droids.
Yeah, we're ordering a whole bunch of those because then he kind of jumps out and like General Grievous spiders away. You know what I mean?
Right, yep. Yeah, I thought he was pretty great. But so then it seems like Boba is trying to control that Dune Sea. He's going to institute a toll. He's going to turn the Dune Sea into Dubai is what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
It's going to be this just like Dubai. It's
right. They're going to have this indoor skiing resort in no time. Like the place is just going to explode. There's going to have so much wealth in that place because he's going to institute a toll. No one's traveling through here without our say. I mean, it's smart.
It is smart. And so, it's called The Tribes of Tatooine, episode 2, The Tribes of Tatooine. And so we are kind of throughout the show introduced to various tribes and clans, and we meet the mayor and his faction, and then he meets the Hutts who are going to stake a claim to Jabba's territory. We go back in time. Now we're learning about the Tuscans, and now we're learning about the people who are running spice and other stuff, smugglers. So they're just kind of, the Niktos who are running around stealing stuff. We're just getting introduced to all these different people who can create conflict for Boba Fett moving forward. Yeah. And then I believe now here's one of the weird editing train things again that I've just the little things sometimes that bug you that you just have to bring up. Okay. This train looks like it's going about 150 miles an hour, right? I mean, it is hauling through the desert. Okay. And like we see it immediately. And I get that the Tuscans are like kind of on some hills a ways out. Like they're kind of like signaling each other with lights. But the way that this is going on and the amount of time it takes, it seems like from the time they get to the Tuscans to where they see where the Tuscans are, to the time that train stops, the train at the speed it was going would be like 30 or 40 miles away from them. Right. And yet the second the train crashes, I don't know if you notice this, the second the train crashes, the whole Tuscan Village just like runs up to it. And I'm like, wasn't the Tuscan Village like an hour ago back that way? And then somehow it crashes and they all just go running up.
Maybe they attacked the train like miles and miles before the city. It just so happened that they brought the train down right in front of the village. You got to use, use your head, Justin.
Yeah,
think,
maybe.
Use your mind.
And then we get LSD lizards.
We do. We get to see Boba on an acid trip, going on a vision quest. Brings back one of the pieces of that tree, and that and I'll have you know, just that speaking of money, that one sand person who like makes the gaffy sticks makes an absolute fortune on Etsy. Because those are his handcrafted gaffy sticks are just, I mean, world renowned. People pay top dollar for those things. And look at the finished product. I mean, you can't argue with results. He's very good at what he does. Well, it's just that like that's he's the only one really doing that. It's not enough to like for the whole tribe. It's just like, he's got some extra money in his pocket kind of thing, but
right. Of course, he's got to basically take a new person into the tribe, have them go on an LSD trip, and then prove that he's worthy to bring a branch back from a tree in the middle of the ocean desert.
Yeah.
Didn't quite understand what was going on there. Apparently the whole purpose was to get a branch to make his gaffy stick. And so, so it's limited opportunity. So it's supply, low supply. He gets to charge a lot.
Yep.
And then the dragon LSD lizard returns to its wicker cage. Okay.
Yep. That's how, That's how it works, buddy.
And that's really it. I mean, so at that point, then they clothe him up a little bit in some Tuscan gear. They do a little dance around the fire to prove that he has now officially become a member, I assume, of that Tuscan clan.
I would think.
And that's what we get. That's episode 2. And I've got to say, like, overall, before we wrap this is just a quick live instant reaction. Overall, I do like it better than episode 1. I think you said the same thing. There's better pacing. I think the some of the effects are a little better. Some of the fight scenes and the action scenes were a little better done.
Yeah, not quite so clumsy. Yeah,
not quite so clumsy. And the introduction of the Hutts, I think, is awesome.
I really like that too. Yeah,
but there's still, to me, there's just not enough going on in the present. You know, for where the story. Too much flashbacks.
Well, and like, you know, I get the flashbacks. They're trying to set up like how he, you know, got to where he get, you know, and I'm sure that's going to come back in a big way, you know, and so they're really trying to set that up. But yeah, I'm surprised they haven't had more like holy crap moments in the present that are really trying to hook people. But again, I'm still invested, still ready, still a lot can happen in the remaining episodes. But I'm, you know, again, we talked about like with the Mandalorian in that first episode, right? For the pacing,
it's the one thing the whole world talks about,
just kind of trudging along. But then the end of it, you see again at that time a baby Yoda is what you'd call it, and like holy shit. And so that's the moment that then hooks you and like you kind of be okay, what's happening here, like what's going to go on, and so you're willing to kind of trudge with them through some of the other episodes as you get more backstory and world building. And in this one they don't have that moment.
What's the thing, right?
Yeah, what's that thing?
What's that thing that everyone's talking about in Boba Fett?
Right.
And I'd say right now is there a thing everyone's talking about? I don't think there is.
I mean, maybe the escape from the Sarlacc, but that's something like we knew had to happen. It's just something that had been talked about for so many years, which was cool. But yeah, other than that, there's not like a moment you're like, oh my goodness, like you have to see this. Couldn't believe it, a mind-blowing moment. It's just been like, it's been good. Okay, it's fine, right? Yeah, but like hopefully it's really building to something is what my hope is. And that right now they just need to get all the pieces out there and have you understand all the backstory and, you know, get all the characters out there before we really mix it up. That's my hope. Yeah,
me too. I would say overall it's a better episode than episode 1. I liked it. It was obviously a little longer than episode 1, which I think most people felt like was a little too short.
I'm going to say I actually like that it was a longer too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just right now, I think the only thing I think the show's missing is that one thing. Like we just said, it's the introduction of Baby Yoda. It's the something. If somebody's asking about why Boba Fett, you know, if they haven't watched Star Wars in a while, why you should come back, and I would say, do you like Boba Fett? right. Or did you like Jabba the Hutt? Because there's gonna be some new Hutts. I think
a couple Hutts.
A little Southern Belle, which I did like. You know, I did like, but yeah. So I don't know. Well, we'll see.
All right, man.
So. That's it for our episode 2 reaction. We'll be back bright and early in the morning next week for episode 3.